All right, well,
I'll watch
we'll
for
get this
people
going.
as we
Yeah,
go.
if people
Yep.
chime in, yeah, we don't want to. So, Luann, we try and stick pretty close to our 10 o'clock deadline, you know, so nobody ends up late for an appointment anticipating us ending at 10. So,
Okay.
so anyhow, you know, I don't know if we really introduced ourselves to you, but we're Colleen and Brian of the CB real estate team at Remax Realty Group, and we do a lot of investment property sales. Probably about 85% of our sales are investment properties. So we work with landlords all the time, investors all the time, investors and landlords from or out of state, out of country, out of town, whatever, they're all over the place. So as I was telling you, whenever I have a new investor, first thing I tell them is to go to the housing council for their landlord operations workshop so that they can learn how to do things the right way. So the reason we asked you on is because I know you guys offer a lot of services that are helpful to landlords and tenants. And I think that some of our investors should kind of learn what you have to offer and maybe be able to utilize it and help them be more successful.
Okay.
So
All right.
everybody, I'm introducing you to Luann Brinks, who is the landlord service administrator
Correct.
of Housing Council. And she's awesome. So
Okay.
she's about to give us a show.
All right. Well, first, I'm just going to tell you who we are. We're the Housing Council in Monroe County area. We were founded in 1971 to expand safe and affordable housing for low and moderate income persons in Monroe County. And then in 2013, we became affiliated with the Pathstone Corporation and changed our name to the Housing Council at Pathstone. We are a HUD-approved counseling agency. We offer a lot of different services. We have a lot of services, obviously, for landlords, but we have other services too. We have a housing hotline, which is really popular, and currently we're operating it between Monday and Friday, 9 to 1, where we get any type of call. We get a lot of landlord calls, tenants, homeowners, people that want to buy a house. And then we answer their questions or, you know, give them the resources or referrals to where they need to go to help with their situation. So that is a really good resource for landlords. And we try to keep up on the changing times. So we also have a rental registry that's updated twice a week. And this is a great way for landlords to list their vacant properties with us. We send it out to hundreds of agencies so the word gets out, people know about it, and they go to our website to look at it. And as I said, it's updated twice a week. And I think that we have different packages, but the start, it's $20 for a listing, but there are other packages that you can buy if you want to be like a regular person constantly listing your properties with us. We have landlord trainings, and we're going to go into that. I'm going to tell you about what those are in a minute. We have tenant education, although that right now is on hold due to the pandemic here, but we will be starting that up at some point. We have first-time home buyers, someone purchasing a house. We have grants and things like that, education programs for pre-purchase and post-purchase. We have foreclosure prevention department, helping people that are behind on their mortgage payments. We do the reverse mortgage counseling for seniors, and we have fair housing training, and we also do the inspections for the Department of Human Services. So if you have a tenant that you're signing a landlord tenant agreement with DSS, there's a move-in inspection that has to be done, and we do those. So let's get into some of the different classes that we offer. As she mentioned, we have that operating rental property class. Typically it's 6 hours when it's in person, but we've shortened it right now for online Zoom meetings. This is good for a new landlord and even some existing landlords, because we've revamped the whole thing once all the new laws went into effect last summer. So we go over the rental application, we go over fair housing, drugs and your rental properties, leases, rental agreements, talk about repairs, maintenance. We go over the eviction process, the pre-COVID eviction process, because now it's a little crazier. And we also talk about record keeping. So we have dates coming up in October for that, October 21st and 22nd, between 5 and 7:30, and then we're offering it again in November on the 18th and 19th. Now for that class, there is a $60 fee, but you do get a book with that class as well. Now with the pandemic, working at home and that, we developed a few new classes because I guess we had time on our hands. So one class that we've offered now is a screening tenant class, which is so important right now because there's a lot of people not paying rent and that type of thing, and there'll probably be a lot of vacancies at some point once landlords can start evicting people. So this is really we started off with an hour class, but it runs a little longer than an hour, just going over all types of things to screen your tenant. Because that's one of the things you can do as a landlord is have good screening policies and that. So we have that class, and then we also have a fair housing class because HUD changed the support and service animal guidelines, I guess you want to call it, back in January. So a lot of people might not even be aware of that because they were seeing a lot of, filings from tenants were filing discrimination claims. So this is kind of a guide for landlords to help them determine whether this person, asking for a support or service animal is really needed. We also talk about domestic violence and sexual harassment in that 1 hour class. Those classes are $20 and we're offering them once a month. Now the next one is October 28th, and I'm not sure if it's going to be the screening tenant one or the fair housing one, but you can go to our website, just Google the Housing Council, and it should pop up to get to our website. And you can check our calendar for the times, and we usually offer those. We call them a lunch and learn, so they're usually around the noon hour, but we're still trying to figure out if that's a good time or not for people. We also have a program called the Landlord Ambassador Program, and this program is a grant that we got from New York State. And the purpose of it is to stabilize the physical and financial health of small and medium-sized multifamily buildings. And this program is for rentals in the city of Rochester. And this program is free, and I do administer this program. There's a couple parts to the program. One, they call it the technical assistance portion. And what we do is it's like one-on-one counseling. So if you're having any specific, areas that you feel like you need to expand on, so we can identify your challenges, develop an action plan to improve your business practices and policies. So a lot of landlords have been taking up on this. I've been doing a lot of counseling on what the new laws are, looking over people's leases to see if they're in compliant with the laws. But I mean, we can go over just about any kind of thing that you want. If you want to talk about the application, that type of thing, we can do that. And we also can provide referrals and resources for the community as well. Like maybe there's some rehab programs. We can discuss those as well. And the second part, go on.
Is there a fee for this class?
No, it's not a class. It's just like a one-on-one counseling. It's free.
Okay. Okay.
So if you need to know what all the new laws are, I'm your girl. So there's also the other part of the program is a small building, they call it a small building participation loan. And this is a loan that's financed through CPC, which is the Community Preservation Corporation, and then it's subsidized through the New York State HCR, or the Homes and Community Renewal. And so this is a loan for units of 5 to 40 units. So it's for larger properties, and it can be used for acquisition or rehabilitation. And so how it kind of works is, I'm going to give you the interest rate is a fixed, and it's based on the percentage of the subsidy and the loan amount from CPC. So like an example would be like if half the loan is financed through CPC and then half of the loan is financed through HCR at the rate of 6%, which is they're probably lower now. The reduced interest rate would be 3% fixed. So one of the conditions of this loan is that you must enter into a regulatory agreement to ensure affordable rents. So if you're interested in that program, we can hook you up with our contact at CPC, and she can go over that. And then go on.
Sorry, what is CPC?
It's the Community Preservation Corporation.
Okay, thank you.
And then, so the two parts are the Community Preservation Corporation, and the other part, money comes from the Homes and Community Renewal.
Okay.
So I already kind of talked about our hotline, which is getting very busy. And I told you about the rental registration and the Department of Human Services inspection. So those are basically our programs that we have right now. And one thing I wanted to mention about the Landlord Ambassador Program, because of, so many landlords aren't getting their rent from people, I can assist people if there's any landlords that are behind on their mortgage payments. I've been doing foreclosure prevention counseling for like 16 years here at the Housing Council. I do it part-time now, and I do this other programs as well for landlords. But, I could help work with the mortgage company to, try to resolve the problem by getting a modification, that type of thing. So that could be a really good resource for some landlords, because that's kind of a daunting process, trying to get a modification and knowing all the terminology in that. So that's all I have. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Luann, I had a question. This might not be in your department, but the tenant training class, is that still active?
It is not right now, but we're hoping to get it up, because that would be a really good resource for landlords to tell their tenants, how to be a tenant, it's called Tenant Workshop 101, I think it is. So it goes over budgeting and, keeping the property in good shape and that type of thing. But unfortunately, we don't have that running right now.
Is it legal if you're a landlord to tell a prospective tenant, that you want them to take the Tenant 101 course when you have it back? Is it legal to tell them to do that before they will rent to them?
I would imagine you could, put it in the lease that they have to attend it, like, because you can put in a lease that they have to have renter's insurance,
Okay, yeah.
So this could be something that they could use, but don't be doing it yet, because we don't have
No.
No. If it is or was legal, check with your attorneys on that question.
Yeah.
But I think you would agree that if that's going to become your policy, that needs to be done with all your tenants, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm writing it down.
Potential tenants.
Well, would you want it, you would have it so that once they sign the lease that they have to do it?
Yeah, well, I mean, if it was a perfect world, we'd know they were coming a month ahead and, tell them to take the class during that month. But obviously that's not going to happen anytime. But I guess if I was a landlord, I'd probably put it in my lease that it would have to be taken within 60 days of moving in, or
yes,
they're breaking the lease kind of thing.
I'll look into that.
Do you expect that to come back online eventually?
Well, if you want to wait a second, I could chat my boss and ask her.
What's your boss's name?
Trisha Eisenman. You want me to ask her?
Because
Be great.
it used to be the boss.
Huh? I used to be the boss?
No. It used to be the boss. The boss.
Oh, Susan Boss, are you talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, the Susan Boss, no, Trisha's not that type of boss, but Susan Boss is now like the second in command at Pastone now. And then we have Mary Leo is our new director now, executive director. Okay, well, we'll see if she responds. So I just sent her a chat. That's how we communicate.
Let me tell you an initiative that we began or tried to begin this way back when the tenant training was up and running. We used that as an incentive for them to take that class. So if they were to take that class, again, it was optional. We would provide them an incentive. You know, there's variations to the theme. You know, $25 off of your rent each month, or if you complete your 1 year's lease. All rents paid on time. Lease provisions have been, we're all there. The first month of the second year is free. So that kind of incentive, come at me with a certificate. So there was a win-win situation with that. It never really took hold. We didn't have enough support. I'm talking about 10 years ago when we tried to put that together.
Oh, okay. I did hear back from her. Right now, we don't have any plans to get it back up and running anytime soon.
You will.
We will, because we used to offer it like every week, and we were once the word got out, we were getting a good volume of people in the class. We're just worried that a lot of the tenants might not have the technology to do it via Zoom, and we're not doing any in-person anything right now. I mean, I've only been into the office 2 times in 6
part of the
months.
Housing Council, Luann, and I'm talking 10 years ago also, where the training class was connected to DHS, Department of Social Services, whereby they had parameters, whereby if they've been brought to court 3 times within 2 years, they had to take the class. Whereby if there was an LTA claim on any of their apartments, they had to take. So there's a mandate where the DSS connected to you guys, where they had to take the class when there were certain behavior issues with tenants. That was there for a while, but it fell off the map.
The only mandate that's in effect right now is the city of Rochester. If someone is getting a grant and it's going to be like a duplex, maybe if the landlord's going to live in one part of the unit. If the landlord's living in it and they're renting out the other, they do have to take our operating rental property class. And they have to provide we have to provide them a certificate once they've taken the class. Any other questions?
The housing hotline, you said that's open 9 to 1 each day, or?
Yep, Monday through Friday.
Okay, and then what's the phone number for that?
It's 546-3700. And then my extension, if you're interested in the landlord ambassador program, is that same number, but my extension is 3004.
Okay.
Or they can email me.
And I see on the Housing Council site, that's one of the first things listed on there is that number. There's a lot of great information on there. And one of the things I noticed, Luann, is that the DHS inspections, I know they were virtual, FaceTime, Skype for a while. Is that still the case?
I think they will go in if they have to.
Okay.
He has done a few in-person ones now.
Okay.
And that you can just sign up on our website to schedule a time.
Great.
The small building participation loan.
Uh-huh.
So if we have a buyer that's buying something that's 5 units or more,
Mm-hmm.
do they come see you before they make an offer, or do they bring an offer to you and say, you know, I'm buying this property and?
Well, if someone's interested in there, because we need to work with our CPC mortgage rep. And
Okay.
so if you have a situation like that, I mean, she's quick at getting back, and then she can go through the process more.
Is there a special inspection or anything? Like, you know, if somebody goes through the NACA program, or if somebody goes through the City of Rochester 3+3 program, they've got, you know, the extra inspection by the city on the property. Is there anything
There's a
extra?
lot of you know, inspections and things
Okay.
like that.
Who does those inspections? Is it city or is it Pathstone or?
It's not us.
Okay.
I believe, I'm not 100% sure. I better not answer that question.
Okay, no problem, no problem.
But Miriam Zinker, she's the person at CPC, and she's like an expert at these.
Marion Zinker.
Hey, Luan, from your vantage point, are you seeing a lot of newbies, new landlords coming into play, or what's your opinion?
Well, it's hard to tell because, you know, we've been quarantined for 6 months and we stopped doing classes, and we've only done 2 operating rental property classes since March or February actually, and we haven't had a lot of people taking the class. We used to have like 20, 25 per class, and now we get like 5 or 6. So it's like half new and half existing, or some are thinking about it. We hope we don't scare them off with the class, but
That's better. They know before they jump in with both feet and, you know, find
yes,
out they're sinking.
yeah, exactly.
Now, the rental registry, if a tenant's looking for a property, is there a website that they?
It's our
go on?
housing council website,
Okay, okay.
the housing council.
And the listing, can that stay on indefinitely until they rent it, or is it $20 for a
45,
month?
it's 45 days.
Okay, 45 days.
And then you do have to call us if it's been, you know, let us know if it's been rented out. So you're not still getting a lot of calls on it.
Okay, yeah, yeah. And the screening tenant class, you know, without going into too much detail, I don't want you to give away all the course information, but do you recommend like a certain service that, like when I was a landlord, I would use Zumper.
I see. Well, we get into a little bit about that, but there's a lot of pre-steps. I'm just looking at my thing. You know, we go over like how to write up a screening policy and why you need to have it. So we start right at the beginning, how to do your advertisement, questions you can ask landlords, questions you can ask tenants to try to pre-screen people before you actually do the background check in the credit report. We go over, you know, how to read a credit report. It goes over a lot. We go over fair housing and how that relates to, you know, screening your tenant and why you got to be careful. And then we go over the application just a little bit, the importance of that. But it was a good class. We just put that together recently. So we've done it once.
Does the Housing Council have an email list that you can subscribe to so you can get notified of upcoming classes, or just basically just check the website?
I mean, we have some lists. If there's somebody that's interested in getting on a list, I can certainly get them on some sort of list. But best thing is to check our website because we have classes going on every month. Yeah. And we're trying to think of a new class. If anybody has any idea, we're trying to think of a new like lunch and learn topic to do, but we haven't come up with something just yet. anybody has any ideas, that would be
How about,
good.
how to get non-paying tenants out of your house during COVID?
We're not attorneys.
Yeah.
I know. And now the governor's talking about extending the moratorium. Yeah.
Just keep taking deep breaths.
Hopefully there's going to be some money somewhere coming for landlords
Yeah.
that are suffering.
Well, I know that they have certain grant programs and stuff that are out there, but I know one of our property managers has had many tenants apply for one through, I think it was Catholic Family Charities.
Yes.
They have yet to see any money, even though it's been like 2 months since they put the application in. So it's kind
The
of
thing
moving
with
slow,
that
I guess.
program is it shouldn't move that slow, especially if they, have a court date or something. I mean, the tenant, there are strict guidelines, income guidelines. So if someone makes too much money, they won't get the program either. So it's based on, criterias. And so a lot of tenants, their financial situation really they haven't overcome their financial situation either. So that could be another reason why they're not getting the money. And they have to show that they're going to be able to afford the rent going forward after they bring them current.
Right. Yeah, I understand that if they don't show that they are going to be able to afford the rent, then there's no chance of getting the back rent paid.
Right.
Because they know that it's just going to be a dead end for the tenant anyways.
So if you have a tenant and you've given them the 14-day notice, they should call 211 because there's like a screening procedure, and they will pre-screen a tenant. And then if they look like they qualify, a pre-qualification, then they'll do the referral. I think there's like 5 agencies now that have money. But because the CARES Act, that was one of the things in the CARES Act, that the tenant had to have a 14-day notice. Well, then we got this catch-22 right now where you really aren't supposed to be giving a 14-day notice.
Right.
So that's the problem with this program.
Well, we still deliver the 14-day notice for the very purpose of
Trying to get that.
Exactly. Yeah. It just
Yes, that's one strategy.
It's a paper trail, Luann, you probably already know there's $3 million of the CARES Act money in Rochester's Catholic Family Center hands being distributed. You're aware of that program, right?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's a new one out there under construction in committee in New York State Legislature. If you want to look it up, it's Bill S8115.
S81. What was it? S8 what?
115.
Oh, okay.
And what that's, I don't like it, but what that's doing is they're trying to get some funds together. From where? It's a different angle. Basically, it lets you I don't want to say forgive, but cancel rent. The landlord cancels the rent that's due, and when you do that, you're able to then apply for a voucher to get that repaid via that fund. It's a little murky. It's in committee.
It hasn't been passed yet, though.
No, it's in committee right now. Yeah.
Okay.
It's being highly talked about around Albany. And the problem with that is they're targeting 100 million. Well, as you know, the New York Rent Relief Program was 100 million. It was gone in 3 weeks. So we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, where are they going to get the money for it?
They claim that it's there.
Oh.
From the CARES Act or something, it's available. It's just not enough, in my opinion, but we'll see what happens. Look it up, check it out.
I will. I wrote it down. Thank you.
Anybody else have any other questions for Luann? Well, I guess you covered everything in your conversation, and I'm very excited about taking the classes in October. I'm going to take the landlord operation class again because I have not taken it since the eviction laws were changed. So I really want to
Okay.
become familiar with that. And then the fair housing, they beat us to death with it as realtors, but still I'd like to know how it works as far as landlord-tenant situations. And then your screening tenant class, I get asked all the time how, you know, somebody can make sure they're putting a good tenant in place. So those are all really great offerings.
Good. If anybody, you know, knows of any other organizations that I could talk at, I would be happy to do that.
Yeah, Carl, maybe Freya would like to have her on one of the landlord conversations one of these days.
Yep, we'll get that going.
Yeah,
Good
yeah.
idea.
Freya is a much bigger group than what we have here. It's kind of an intimate group, and it's, you know, Friday mornings at 9 o'clock, so a lot of people are at work and stuff. But we record all our meetings and post
Okay.
them so people can still get them, and I send them out to our investors as well. So anybody who can't make the call will still get the information. So
Great. All right. Well, thank you.
thank you so much for all the information, and we're so happy you could join us, and I'm sure we'll be seeing you again.
All right. I'm going to leave the meeting.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank
Luann.
you. Have a good
Take care.
day.
You too.
Cool.
Anybody else got any questions or suggestions for another meeting in 2 weeks? We've got some topics we've been bouncing around, but tried to get a lawyer to talk about evictions, but none of the lawyers are calling me back.
Well, Colleen, the problem we're having with that, you know, even though they're attorneys, we're all in the same boat now.
Exactly.
They're a little bit more, they do it all day long, so they're going to be more informed a little bit more quicker. But they're in the gray area too. Why? Because interpretation. We have different interpretations from different attorneys. It's amazing out there because nothing's been ruled on yet. There's been no precedent set yet, and the judges can't even come to a conclusion. I've been in a couple of the sessions, the landlord tenant sessions, and they cannot issue any warrants until they have guidance from the higher powers. They, you know, negotiate, you know, they everything's adjourned into the future, subject to negotiations of rent. And what they're doing, which is a good thing, what they're doing is, and they're mandated to do so, is that they have to adjourn it so that they get legal representation. They have legal aid, New York law, they're all up there in the court sessions. They have screening rooms right outside. They get together and they guide them into the money program, CFC and stuff like that. There's actually a DHS table. DHS is up there also right outside the courtroom, linked up to their system. So they're thinking in the right direction, and trying to get this stuff done.
It's definitely a step in the right direction because that lag time between court and the tenant getting to DSS was always a problem.
Yeah, so they try to fix that. The gist I'm getting up there is that we're all in the same boat in terms of what we're trying to achieve. The judges, the tenant attorneys, the landlord attorneys, is let's see if they qualify for funding to get rent paid. And that's really the goal right now.
Yeah, because there's going to be a huge backlog once they do set a date and open things up. So
having said that, I think a lot of us are going to, we're going to be hurting, unless there's another stimulus bill coming up, we're going to be hurting pretty bad. All these orders and statutes involving eviction moratoriums, bottom line is we're not going to see a lockout or a warrant well into 2021. So possession, we're screwed. So either we need to cash for keys kind of thing, or lawfully, by the way, or, you know, pump them through the programs that are out there. Otherwise, you're going to be sitting on a dead investment.
I'm curious where, I mean, we've talked during this meeting over the past few months about percentages of tenants that are paying and not. I'm curious where we stand on that, because I think we were like 82%, Beth. I think you had a number. I'm wondering if that's drifted away or if it's stayed stable?
It's definitely gone down the last probably 2 months. If I go back and look at May and June, my collections are probably low 90s, but now they're kind of mid 80s, low 80s. So we just kind of think that tenants think they're untouchable at the moment, and there's nothing anybody can do. I think they've kind of caught on to that. But, you know, I've shared in the past, I think that the rental assistance is giving people false hope. Some people get it, but I just feel that majority are not.
Let me add, Beth, I'll look at it from a different way. I think you and I got a survey emailed to us from the Finger Lakes Landlord Association. Do you remember that recently?
Yeah.
The survey. And one of the questions on there, which caused me to have to do the math and look at it, was if the court's, you know, wide open, ready to go, how many cases would you be filing right now to go forward with eviction? I have 160 units, and my number was a third. 49 cases would be up for petitions.
Yeah, I don't think our number is definitely not that high, especially because I do have a lot of people who are sticking to their payment plan, but I would say maybe 10%, if I had to guess. I mean, I could do the math, but in our case, it's either you're paying or you're trying to pay, or you're just completely avoiding us.
Yeah.
So the completely avoiding us, out of your 400, whatever you have, how many would be heading to court?
As many as I can. Actually, you know, I think, Carl, I told you this last week. We are actually going to we're testing it and taking 5 people to small claims court. Yeah. So I have all the paperwork. We got to send the demand letters, I think, today, and then we have to wait 10 days to file in small claims. Because I know these people are working. They're just deliberately not paying. And some of them are Section 8, and I can't really, it doesn't seem that I'm getting any help from Section 8. Yeah, they send their letters saying, you know, you got to pay your rent or you're going to lose your voucher. But I kind of feel like this is the only thing in our court. And we're just hoping that the arbitrators, which we would appeal it and go to a real judge, aren't going to say this is an eviction matter. It's not about, you know, I kind of have to switch gears and say it's not about possession. I just want the judgment, even though in reality, I just want them to leave.
Right. It's a novel idea, Beth, and we're going to watch you guys take the lead on this, because we were talking like last night, you know, what other strategies that we have other than a petition in court. Cash for keys was one. Well, here's a new one. And the intent, Beth, explain the intent. By doing this, you're not going to get possession. You may get a judgment, but the ultimate intent here is what?
The ultimate intent is to light a fire. I mean, with these 5, I would hope that they would at least start to pay or vacate, really. And I feel that, I'm sorry?
Forcing their hand, you know.
Yes, yes.
Get off the pot and let's get it going. The fear of a judgment, possibly. The whole, you know, time and going to court, you know, you start mentioning court, things start changing in the tenant's mind a little bit, some for the worse, some for the better. But that's a great idea. I'm just going to watch this.
Yeah, I think that's literally the only thing that we can think of that that could possibly move us in the right direction. Either way, whether it's possession or a judgment, it is what it is.
Did you file yet or not yet?
No, we have to do a demand letter first, and then you have to wait 10 days to actually file. So we're hoping we should be able to get out the demand letters today, which is a little concerning to me because, you know, you can't write threatening letters, blah, blah, blah right now. So we have to be careful how we word the demand letter.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to small claims, you got to follow their guidelines, but you also have to make sure you're not breaking the eviction moratorium laws either. So that might be a little tricky.
I'll bet the tenants' demands for repairs have dropped considerably, though. The ones that hold back rent money until a screen door's fixed or something.
Yeah, I mean, I just think you get that no matter what. I have
Mhm.
people who haven't paid rent in 6 months and they call about, their doorknob fell off, and I'm just like, oh my God, that is not, it's just, if you didn't have heat, that might be a different thing, but yeah.
Well, let me speak on that. So it has decreased a little bit, but I come at them with two things. One, my company is mandated to focus on health and safety only, period. That's all we're doing until the emergency is lifted. It's a policy. It is what it is. Second, a technique I've been using for quite a while, and it works pretty freaking good. And what it is they owe you $3,000 in rent. They're asking for you to do this, and this. Now, as long as it's not like a serious thing, got no heat, no water, no electric, we take care of that. We're talking about everything else under the sun. You've got $3,000 of my money. You have authority to use that to go fix what you're talking about. Save the receipts. We'll take it off the $3,000. It's amazing. Whoa, wow, really? Two things happen. They don't call us again. We never get a receipt, or kind of like that problem went away. And a couple of times they took us up on it. I think one was a mice extermination thing. Owed us $3,000, gave us a bill for $175. Great, they're happy. It's money that I'm supposed to get and go back anyways. I put the emphasis on them to take care of that responsibility.
Now, Carl, if they were to call the city and say, hey, I have mice and my landlord's not doing anything, how would you handle it that way to get the city off your back?
Great, good question. I haven't had that yet, but good question. I would still proceed with my strategy and technique until there's push comes to shove with the city. Follow me? So if there's, they give you time, but if there's push comes to shove where I got heat from the city, whether it's enforcement or that kind of stuff, then I'll respond appropriately at that time. But until that time, my approach is the way it's going to be.
Okay.
I've been doing it for like 15 years. It's working out pretty good.
It's always interesting to hear your strategies and tips for, making things work in a challenging time. So I really appreciate you guys sharing that with us.
You got to get more people on this thing.
I know. I
know.
If you got a secret on how to do it, you let me know. And Carl, thanks for sending me the letters you sent me yesterday too. I appreciate it. My client is going to be using them. So
Beth, did you send yours?
I did not.
I just needed one.
I can definitely do it. I think, Carla,
mine,
ours are pretty similar, aren't they?
no, yours is a little more complex. Mine's a little more condensed version of the Gallagher's. Gallagher's have a little more legally stuff in it.
Mm-hmm.
And so the idea is to take these two and mold your own. Okay, don't just rubber stamp it.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to fit your policy, your attitude, your way of doing business.
Yeah.
Colleen, I'll send yours. I'll send ours in a few minutes.
I appreciate it, Beth. Thank you. I'll share it with him too. It's just a landlord that sold the house. The woman's $4,000 behind in rent. He wants to give her $1,500 to move out by October 15th. And she said yes. And I said, well, you need to have her sign something. So, then he's like, well, give it to me.
And just remember, when she signs it, make sure her license is right next to it.
Oh, I have told him over and over, do not leave there unless you have a picture of her license next to her signature on that piece of paper, and he understands that. So.
And the other tip is when that exchange happens, have a second person with you as a witness.
It's a good idea. Yeah, that'll probably be me then, because he wanted me to go and take the letter to her.
Videotape it.
Yeah.
Hey, Carl, just real quick, going back to what you were talking about, repairs, taking it off money that's owed. What about, especially with single families where you have the tenant doing yard work, taking care of the exterior, some of that. What about violations? Are you seeing an uptick in city violations that maybe the tenant should have been taking care of things, brush being overgrown, yard not being kept up, junk outside? Are you negotiating kind of with that too, having them do the work, or are you jumping in there and taking care of that?
Well, I heard two questions in there. So the first is I have not seen an uptick of any kind. It's been, COVID had no effect. It is what it is. My single family house policy, and they know this right up front. I have a rider that goes with my leases that there's certain responsibilities with a single family house versus an apartment that they're obligated to. And one of the ones is exterior maintenance, lawn mowing, upkeep, snow removal. That's a tenant responsibility on a single family house. They know that up front. So every year there's a couple times we'll get a notice and order. Hey, your grass is too high on a single house. And then I deliver them, hey, you're about to get fined $150 letter to the door. And usually that corrects the problem. And I think, and I have about 45 to 50 singles, maybe about 50. And I think in any given year, I might get one ticket. And then what happens with that is the tenant needs to pay that. And in my leases, fines and fees get paid first and then rent. So when they make a payment, the first thing that gets paid is the $150. Everything else is towards rent.
That's good. So then if you ever have to go back to them for lost rent or for them not paying rent, you don't get a judge telling you they don't have to pay the $150 fee or whatever? Is that...
Right, that's behind us now. So we're only dealing with rent issues at that point.
Cool.
Beth, I know you guys have a different strategy with Gallagher. Explain yours.
I'm sorry, I was sending an email. What was the question again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, single family houses in terms of exterior upkeep, lawn mowing. What's your policy?
Oh, okay. So if it's an extremely challenging area, we, the landlord, will mow the lawn. However, most of our singles, we do put it on the tenant, whether they have their neighbor do it or they do it themselves. Same thing with snow plowing. We don't do any of that. As far as bushes and all of that, we tend to take care of that because otherwise we feel that the tenants will just butcher it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Another point, Brian, is every year we have what we call an exterior spring cleanup. And that's when all that stuff happens. The overgrowth, after winter, these places look like crap, right? So everything's raked out. It helps with the lawn mowing and the future lawn mowing, and it makes the place look better. So it's spring cleanup. It's a one-time thing each year. We do with every property.
And I would highly suggest gutter cleanings too.
Yeah.
Some owners just don't want to skimp out and save the $100, but it causes a lot of problems if you don't clean your gutters.
Oh yeah. Yep. Affects the foundation, the basement. Yep. A lot of problems. All right. Well, thank you guys. Another nice meeting, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. And have a great weekend.
You too.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.